Hey everyone, we're talking today about white balance. We're going to look at a few different ways to correct the white balance in Lightroom when you have to fix it for the entire photo, and then we're going to look at a couple of ways that you can correct just portions of a photo. Now, if you're not familiar with the concept of white balance, basically when your white balance is balanced correctly, then your whites are going to be true white. Now you'll see sometimes if you have different light sources that you're going to have some yellow or blue tones, depending on the light source, sometimes green, and that's just different light tones. Your camera, especially if it's on auto white balance, is going to try to interpret the light sources and make those adjustments itself, but sometimes it needs a little bit of help in Lightroom. So that's what we're going to look at today. Now, we have this photo opened in Lightroom. We're under the basic sliders right here, and we're going to look at the white balance section. Here you see WB for white balance. Now, the first way you can do this is with this little eyedropper icon. You click on that, and then you're going to click this icon wherever you want it to be a true white, and it's not. So, for example, if I think that this wall is supposed to be true white, and this is for demonstration purpose only, it's very much not a white wall. But if I wanted to choose this spot and say that needs to be white, I click there and you see that it changed the white balance in the entire photo based on that spot that I clicked. You'll see that the numbers have shifted here. It adjusted the sliders per where I clicked with the eyedropper. Now, if I want to do that a different way, I can actually manually change it with the sliders. So if I want to warm it up, I can move that one. And you also have the tint, which goes from red down to green. And that works together with the yellow to blue spectrum for the temperature. It's a little tricky sometimes to find the white balance, so what I do a lot of times actually is I will start with the eyedropper and I'll click somewhere, and then if I need to tweak it a little bit, I'll go in and I will adjust the sliders a little bit until it feels right with my eye. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing that we could do is use our hue, saturation, and luminance sliders down here. So in case you didn't see where that was, we're basic sliders here, tone curve, and the next one down are all of your color sliders. And I love this section because it lets you really start to control the color balance. And if the photo is a little bit too yellow, it really depends on what is in the photo and whether the yellows or the blues or whatever you're correcting for, if it appears in objects that are in the photo. Obviously, if you're going to bring a warm photo that's a little too yellow and you're trying to make it cool to balance out that white balance, you can try desaturating the yellow, but you have to be aware that it's going to desaturate the entire photo. So this is, again, not for selective corrections. It's not for partial corrections. It's for the entire photo. So you can do desaturation. So you can desaturate the yellow. And you're going to see, for example, let's see, let me reset this up here for us. So this is our original again. So if I'm still looking up here and I'm like, that just looks far too yellow, I can desaturate the yellow. And I can see, and even a little bit of the orange, I can see that this is looking less yellow, but I have to also acknowledge that it's taken down a lot of the yellow from my furnishings, from the mirrors over here, so it desaturates the entire photo. You can also play with the luminance to make it either brighter or darker, and sometimes that's a really good way of doing it too. It just brightens everything up. So you can use these sliders to really play with the color balance, and that does include fixing some white balance issues. But again, be aware of what else is in the photo that might get affected when you adjust these sliders. And regardless of whether you're adjusting the white balance or not, these sliders are just fantastic to know about. So if you have not played with these before, I highly recommend it. So those are a few ways to adjust the white balance when you're looking at adjusting the entire photo. But what if you have just a small section of the photo that needs to be fixed? So again, we're going to come back to this upper right corner here, which is a little warmer than especially this whole bottom part of the photo. And if we want to balance this out, I would go to the brushes and I would use those to help balance out the color. So the brushes are up here in this strip of tools, and I'm going to start with our adjustment brush over here. And when you click on that, you get this whole new set of sliders that opens up and all of your brush settings. And up here next to Effect, you can have your default brushes from Lightroom. And you can also add in a bunch of brushes. So I have a ton of brushes just from preset bundles and stuff that I've created in the past. These 4 brushes here actually come with the architectural preset and brush bundle that I sell through the Grove. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Cooler Light brush, and that one helps to cool off any warm spots for the white balance. And you can see it jumped to it jumped the slider down so that it can adjust for that. Now with the adjustment brush, you have this brush here on the screen and you can drag your fingers up or down. You can adjust it that way. You can also adjust the size down here with this slider. And you can adjust the feathering, which is the space between the inner circle and the outer circle. And you can adjust the flow, which is essentially how heavy-handed is that brush. And we have it set to cool. It's probably going to have to be adjusted a little bit because it's not that warm of a wall, but we're going to apply it here so you can see the effect. So you apply that and you can see you can just apply it to wherever you need to apply it. So you can just apply it to a section of the photo. This is a fantastic tool to know about for a lot of corrections, but it's really handy for correcting any sort of light leaks from fixtures that were in an adjacent room or something that might have been overlooked when you were on location. If you have these light leaks that cause different colors, different light temperatures. So let me do that brush one more time, and I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit more so you can see the effect. So the great thing is you have a ton of control over this. The one drawback to using this for correcting the white balance is that you don't have a whole lot of control when it comes to fading out the effect. What I mean is I apply it here and you can see where that effect ends right there, where I lifted the brush off of the photo, so to speak. And you can see down here too. So I'm going to jump over to the other brush I want to recommend, which is the gradient filter brush. And this one is probably my favorite way to correct for white balance issues. Anything that you have to correct that's towards the edge of a frame, this gradient filter brush is going to be your best friend. So you click on this little rectangle, a whole set of sliders again pops up. You go to Effect, we're going to go to Cooler Light so that we can cool down any warm areas. And what you do here is you click and drag. And the benefit of using this one over the adjustment brush is that your effect is going to start heavier here at the kind of inner side of where you started clicking. And as you drag, that effect is going to fade to nothing. So you're not going to have that edge of where you applied the brush. And when it comes to light leaks or any sort of adjustments like that on the edge of a frame, being able to just fade the effect away to nothing is a huge advantage to making it look natural. So that's it. The gradient filter brush, the adjustment brush are the ways to correct white balance whenever you are correcting just a portion of the photos. And we talked about using the eyedropper, the white balance sliders, and then we also talked about adjusting your sliders in the especially saturation and also luminance area of your color corrections there. I hope that this has been really helpful, and please, if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe right now. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.